Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Manning with the Minnesota Private College Council with my colleague Tom Lancaster. And we have four panelists from four great private colleges. We have reps here from Bethel University, Macalester College, the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, and St. Thomas. We're going to hear from them all in alphabetical order by institution for the first portion of the call, and then we're going to flip and do some questions. So start thinking about questions you might have right away. You can share those with us in the Q&A function. If you hover over the bottom part of your screen, you'll see that Q&A area show up. There's also a chat function. You can use that if you can't hear someone or have something to share that's more maybe about the setup. Tom, anything else we should say at the start?
Nope.
Okay. So we're going to begin with Michael from Bethel University. Michael, thanks very much for joining us and talking about outcomes.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I am and have the privilege of working at Bethel, and I'm going to share my screen with you. I've got a few slides that'll kind of go over and use as a guide as I talk through. I have the privilege of being our VP of Enrollment and Marketing, so I get to be the front door for Bethel. And we, as you know, have the responsibility of articulating outcomes and what are Bethel's outcomes as you join. A little bit about Bethel to start is we're a Christian private liberal arts university. We have about 4,500 total students. About 2,300 of those are your traditional undergraduate students who come. And our niche in the marketplace is we integrate faith and our learning. They go together. And so that guides how we structure and actually guides what we pay attention to in our outcomes. There's a lot of different things that we look at in terms of what we were driving towards or striving for. Anything from like economic outcomes. And so we just did a study and took a look at the state of Minnesota and what Bethel University specifically contributes to the state. And on an annual basis, we generate about $376 million for the state and support about 2,400 jobs a year throughout the state of Minnesota. And so we take a look at, where do we fit in the spectrum of our region or our economy. Another outcome that we take a look at and consider our community outcomes. And what are we doing to drive and make a difference in our community? And we've got a program, a 2-year residential college experience for Build, so that students with disabilities have an opportunity to go and to a residential dorm and participate in college. We've got our partnership with Frogtown and Summit University neighborhoods, making sure that we create service learning opportunities there for both our students and learning opportunities for the community. And so involved in that area we have been for well over 2 decades. And then outcomes with like various different partnerships and organizations like Breaking Free. Our students do work for them each year to help. It's a nonprofit that advocates against sexual violence and trafficking. This is all to be a part of a larger community and ecosystem. And we have our traditional kind of outcomes or career that we pay attention to. We do a lot of research on what our alumni are doing, what roles they play. And so we know the top employers that our alumni end up in. For Bethel, it's Medtronic, Allina Health, United Health, Target, and Wells Fargo. So a lot of health and business we're driving students to. We know kind of what our alumni are doing or the roles they're playing, the occupational roles. Bethel is a huge school for nursing, and so we have a ton of nursing grads. A lot of our graduates end up as chief executives, teachers, marketing managers, and in social and human services. And then we know their skills, strategic planning, project management, so on and so forth. And so these are traditional things that a lot of schools pay attention to. We also use data from a company called EMSI to help us deliver and articulate additional outcomes. Again, because we mix faith and learning, we pay attention to how that impacts our graduates as they go on. We know that about 82% of our graduates are involved in a faith community after Bethel. And we get some fun facts out of the deal. For example, we know the top occupational role for our history majors. You know, everybody's saying, well, what are you going to do with a history degree? Well, it turns out at Bethel, the majority of our history majors, or a good portion of them, end up as chief executives running companies. And so we've got some of those fun facts or the fact that we prepare about 10% of Minnesota's bachelor degree nurses. Now, as you look and experience and look at different colleges, you're going to get different outcomes from different schools, and a lot of them do a really, really good job. But one thing we want to make sure we don't miss at Bethel is some of the hardest outcomes to measure. And this is a picture of a guy named Brady Bomsta. He actually graduated from Bethel last year. And Brady, in high school, he was one of 9 kids. And he kind of lost who he was in being part of a big family. Sports were a big part of his life. He had several injuries and honestly struggled with depression. There were multiple times in high school that Brady contemplated committing suicide. And he ultimately ended up at Bethel and found a purpose and a vision. He wanted to be a teacher. And I got introduced through Brady when one of my buddies had him in class as a student teacher. And my buddy was asking me all about Bethel and said, I've got this student teacher. He's incredible. You know, he comes in the morning, he's like, man, I was out way too late last night and I'm tired, exhausted. But I know there's some kids in this class that are going through some of the stuff that I went through in high school. And I have to give them my all. And so, Chris, who are they? Because I need to give them everything I got today to show them that they matter. And so Brady goes in, and he knows his job is not just to teach math, but to pay attention to those kids who may need a little extra. And these are intangible outcomes. We have a lot of pretty incredible schools that are doing some really good things in careers and in networks. I think of my colleagues on this call who are going to talk about all of the things that they're doing well. But Minnesota private colleges are uniquely suited to help students shape their character, who they are. And so I encourage you, as you look at schools, maybe ask the question, how would you want your grandkids to describe you? Because more than your earning potential or some of these other things, you want to go to a school that helps shape who you are, what you value, and who you're going to become. And so pay attention between the lines when you're looking at outcomes in colleges. Drive towards that end. It would be my encouragement to you.
Great, Michael, thank you. You ended on a really provocative question about grandkids. That's great.
Yeah.
We are going to jump next to Macalester and Elian.
Let me unmute myself first. I make the mistake of doing that. Okay, so let me share my screen here. So hello, everybody. My name is Elian Paz. I'm the Director for Recruitment at Macalester College. I'm going into my 7th year at Mac. Pleased to be here speaking with you today. Let me tell you a little bit about the outcomes, but wanted to start with just a general overview of who we are. We are a nationally ranked selective liberal arts and sciences college. We're one of just a handful that are located in a metropolitan area. We're really fortunate to be in the Twin Cities and be partnering with some excellent colleges here today in this presentation. We're a very mission-driven institution. We really do live our 4 values. Those are internationalism, multiculturalism, service to society, and high scholarship. So I love to talk about Mac, but I want to talk about alums. If you're interested in learning about Macalester, I encourage you to attend one of our information sessions. So let's talk about outcomes. So first, I think it's important to talk about the support that we have at Macalester. And our Career Explorations offers tailored career planning for all of our students, whether they're interested in many majors, one major, they have the support of Career Explorations to get a sense of what would their after Macalester be. We have programs like Mac Connect, where we go to and take advantage of all of the great industries that we have in the Twin Cities, including maybe going on site to legislative office at the state capitol, to going to 3M, and also Mac Explore, where we go to key cities on both coasts, very specific to areas of interest. So you can see this image from the New York Times, where students who were interested in global perspectives, also maybe students that are interested in writing and journalism, were able to go on site and meet with Macalester alumni that are currently working at the Times. And also we have a number of job fairs that we offer to students throughout the year. And we also are fortunate, because of our location, to have a lot of industries come to Macalester and speak to our students one-on-one. So of course, it's not just this that gets them there. It is just the natural trajectory of our students interested in what that after Macalester could be after they have their 4-year experience. But Career Explorations is really pivotal in making sure that they are aligned for their after Mac. We have a great graduation rate. I think college is awesome, but I think our students are also interested in what happens post Macalester. So to give you some numbers, about 79% of our students engage in an internship or a research experience while they're at Mac. So that really does align them for that after Macalester experience and giving them some opportunities they can add to their resume, but also to have them have a good sense of what it is they're passionate about and what they want to do post Macalester. The great thing about an internship is you might do it and decide, actually, I don't think I want to be an analyst. This isn't what I thought it would be. And so doing an internship is an opportunity to try things out and then be able to shift gears if it just doesn't work, if you don't like it. Happens all the time, not a bad thing. Better to know as a sophomore in college than a 23-year-old after you've graduated, right? Though that happens too, and that's also okay. So for our numbers, about 95% of our students graduate within the year on our place, whether they are going into graduate programs, internships, employment opportunities, and I have a slide that I can share next about kind of where they go. And about 92% of our students that graduate say they're getting a job in their desired field. So a lot of that is the alignment that happens during their Macalester experience to make sure that we're preparing them for that next step. And that it all makes sense. So for a student that is going to graduate school, you're not figuring that out your fall of your senior year, you're actually doing that your junior year and being prepared for all the necessary tests you might take, whether it's the MCATs or the LSATs. Students have study groups for those tests too, and I'm really glad to be in an institution that values that those tests are expensive, and our student government enacted that all of our Macalester students that qualify for need-based aid would actually have stipends to take all the graduate exams. And so we're interested in our students taking that next step and give them the resources to do that. So where do they go? This is a really fuzzy slide, so my apologies. I need to update this graphic. So to give you a sense of kind of where people are going post Macalester, this will kind of ebb and flow, but you can see it's all over. So it's not one specific area. Students going into finance, you'll see nonprofit leadership, social justice. Not surprising, Macalester, that's a fairly big number. We are second in the US for Peace Corps volunteers, for example, of liberal arts colleges. We also have a number of students that are interested in going into nonprofit work. So that may be just, I think it is directly aligned to one of our values, service to society. But they're also going to Wall Street, and they're also going to working in laboratories. And I have two examples here that are very tech heavy. Kofi is actually one of our most famous alums, and I have a picture of him because I can't have a presentation about alums without having Kofi Annan in it. But his grandson works at Facebook. He's the chief marketing officer, graduate of Macalester, and also had a couple other Mac alums in there that have gone into technology too. So sometimes when students think about liberal arts and sciences, that sciences drops off the technology piece of it, but you can find science programs that, in technology programs at all of our great institutions. And so the idea is with a liberal arts experience, having the creative problem solving in order to go into fields and being able to align that creative problem solving in any discipline or industry that students go into. Just 73%, you know, this is about 73% of this last year's class went straight into an employment opportunity. These are just examples of some of our most recent employment sites. We're fortunate also in the Twin Cities. It's a great place to live when you graduate from college to get an entry-level position. It's a lot cheaper to live here than the Bay Area or Manhattan. So we'll find that a number of students actually stay in the Twin Cities post-graduation. We have a lot of alum here, which also means they're great conduits and relationship building you can have as a Macalester student when looking at those after Macalester opportunities. And our alumni are really great at networking with graduating students and also offering internships too. And then about 60% of our students do go to graduate school at some point within 6 years of graduating. And these are some of our recent graduate schools. So going to some of the most prestigious and distinguished graduate programs that we have in the United States. And I think that Mac students just present well. And I think a lot of it is that they are there to learn. And we really strive for an environment at Macalester that is very collaborative versus competitive. So I think they make great students too when they go to a graduate experience where it can be heavily collaborative. And then last, just some, I had to highlight some of my favorite alumni, including Danai Gurira, who is, you may recognize her as Okoye, or Michonne from Walking Dead with the large samurai sword. I mean, she's known as being an amazing actress, but little do people know she's actually an activist, and she was a UN Goodwill Ambassador. She was very interested in rights and initiatives and awareness for young women's health. And she does use her platform to enact good. And she is the epitome of a Macalester graduate, being able to continue to be passionate about something that she's doing, but also contribute to your community in a meaningful way. And then include, if you look, Walter Mondale, Minnesota, we can be proud of, Kofi Annan, of course, who I absolutely love and had the fortunate experience of getting to see. And then, of course, Tim O'Brien. You may have read The Things They Carry in high school or another one of his books, but also been a great contributor. There are over 30,000 Macalester alumni all over the world, and they're truly all over the world, which is really great for couch surfing for our graduates, where they find themselves in different parts of the world. Not now, but hopefully that will resume at some point. So just to give you a sense of the Macalester outcomes and experience, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to jump over to the Minneapolis College of Art and Design with Candace.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Yes. Okay. So I am the admissions outreach representative for the Minneapolis College of Art and Design. I'm also an alumni. I graduated in 2018 with a degree in web and multimedia environments. That was kind of like creative coding and interactive media, web design. So if you have any questions for the chat about what my experience and what my outcome is like, I'm happy to answer any of those. So I currently have 14 different majors. Just gonna flash those all on the screen there. We are a very small school of about 800 students. We're located right in the middle of Minneapolis in the Whittier neighborhood. We are a private nonprofit art college. So of our 800 students, about 85% of those are undergraduates, about 50% are coming from Minnesota. I'm personally from San Antonio, Texas, so there's lots of us from outside of the state and outside of the country. And about 76% of our graduates end up working in their field of study after they graduate, which I love to mention. I think a big part of that is the fact that everybody at MCAD is required to complete an internship. So our career development program will help you get connected with an internship. That's really going to help with getting you integrated into the business field, understanding some of those skills that you'll be using, understanding what you do and don't like, and maybe even looking at a future career with the place that you're interning at. I personally interned in Germany, so I had a great time broadening my network to be more international. And I really want to, just encourage people to understand that there are such a limitless amount of creative careers to think about when you're going to an art college. It's not just the traditional media of painting and drawing. You might be thinking about being an editor, doing any sort of project management. We do have an entrepreneurial studies program, so that's a lot of people that are maybe more interested in the business side of the creative career. So running a business for artists, helping artists understand how to manage themselves, because a lot of our alumni end up working for themselves and doing freelance work. In this slide, I just wanted to highlight some of our really great alumni that we do have at MCAT and some of their work. Lizzo's creative director, the creator of Infinity Train at Cartoon Network, Andrew Chesworth, who is an animator. He runs his own studio called Tycho Studios now, but he was formerly working on a lot of projects with Disney, including Frozen. So just highlighting some of those different things that you can do. A lot of people go on to those big companies like Cartoon Network and Disney, but there are lots of us that are doing, freelance work, client by client, locally, internationally. There's tons of us that are working as graphic designers in the many Fortune 500 companies that are around the Twin Cities, or the many agencies that are around the Twin Cities. There's tons of us that are doing exhibition-based work. That's what I do. I really do like to highlight the fact that the Twin Cities is a great place for artists. It's not just the New York and California. We have not only great opportunities as far as galleries and spaces to show your work and artistic-based agencies, but we also have a great amount of funding in Minnesota for the arts. So that's how I fund my practice as an artist, is completely by writing grants to have funding for my work. And I think that's really something that I encourage people to look at when they're thinking about becoming an artist and staying in the Twin Cities. So some of our alumni benefits will include that you have access to your MCAT email address for at least a year outside of your graduation, and also our service bureau, which will be available for all your printing needs, small scale, large scale, like banners, book projects, things like that. And for the first 5 years outside of your graduation, you still have access to participation in our MCAT art sale, where both students and those eligible alumni can sell their work. So that's always been in person, but this year we're going to be trying that online for the first time. It's the nation's largest student art sale. I will also mention that. So alumni benefits that continue for everyone throughout their entire career will be career development assistance. So the career development department that would have helped you figuring out your internship, they're going to be able to help you as far as, figuring out how to apply for jobs. What does a resume look like? Practicing interviews, things like that. They can help you throughout the rest of your career with that. We also have an alumni directory, which is really helpful just as far as seeing, people that are maybe in your area if you decide to move out of the Twin Cities, finding out folks that might be helpful to you, that you'd like to meet, who are doing similar things to you, you want to collaborate with. We have a host of alumni events. You can decide to host your own alumni events, even if that's just like a critique. After art school, a big part of your experience was probably having critiques and feedback from your peers, and continuing to have that is really important, especially as artists. But other things like updates from our annual magazine, discounts on tuition, access to our art cellar, which is our on-campus art store, and our library, which is a great resource, even for non-students, but being able to check out books is something that alumni are going to continue to have access to. But also financial aid and ACAD member school benefits. So other schools that are a part of the ACAD accreditation program, which is an art school accreditation program, you might be able to see benefits there as well, as far as discounted tuition, discounted summer programs, things like that. And then I just wanted to flash up on the screen some links maybe you might be able to screenshot some of those. So if you're interested in learning more about those alumni benefits, more about our career development department, of seeing any of our virtual events that we host for MCAD, or even asking questions later on if you missed a question, that's the admissions general email and my personal email. But that's what I have.
Wonderful. Thank you, Candace.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate everyone's comments so far. We have now we have Morgan from St. Thomas. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, hello everyone. Let me go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint. All right, well, just a little quick introduction. My name is Morgan Jensen and I am an admissions counselor at St. Thomas. I graduated a few years ago in 2018. I studied communication and journalism and business, and now I'm a grad student studying my MBA at St. Thomas's grad school as well. So just a little brief background regarding St. Thomas academics. We have 150 majors and minors to choose from, and we are the largest private school in Minnesota with 6,200 undergrad students, and we have about 4,000 grad students. So altogether, we're around a 10,000 student population. We are located in St. Paul, Minnesota. Even though we are, on the medium side of things, there is a lot of personal attention in the classroom. Our average class size is around 21, and our student-to-faculty ratio is around 14:1. So you're also always going to be taught by professors. You're never going to have any teacher aides or student assistants or anything like that. Our largest majors include business. Around 50% of our students study business. Health sciences, we have a lot of pre-professional programs such as pre-med, pre-PA, pre-PT, things like that. Communication and journalism, engineering and psychology, but we also have a number of unique majors as well, such as actuarial science, entrepreneurship, data analytics, public health, and criminal justice. Beyond just our majors, we are a liberal arts school, so we do have core curriculum as well. So actually around 50% of our freshman class comes in undecided. They begin taking this core curriculum, and then that kind of gives them a better idea of what they might want to study all 4 years. So I'd say no matter where you are in the college process, know that you don't have to have that major 100% set in stone yet by any means. Now diving into our student resources on campus, we have a career development center. All of these student resources are located in our Center for Student Achievement. And if you come and tour St. Thomas, you'll get a tour of that. It was recently renovated and really nice space. But anyways, our Career Development Center, what they do is they will review your resumes and cover letters. They do mock interviews to help prepare you for those internship and job interviews. And they also bring companies on campus to do on-campus interviews, really to just make it easier for the students. Beyond that, they also will help with major exploration. They allow you to, if you're kind of teetering back and forth between a few majors or really have no idea what you might want to major in, they give you aptitude tests, and those tests will say, based on your answers, you should look into something in math or business or so on. Academic counseling is also great for major planning. They help you with study skills and registration tools. These are the people that you'll meet with to map out your 4-year plan to make sure that you can graduate in 4 years and make sure you're doing everything you can to get all the classes you need. We also have awesome undergraduate research opportunities. So you can do research throughout the academic year. We also offer a number of summer grants where they pay for your housing on campus. You can also do research for credit or as a student employee and then receive a wage for that. And we also offer travel grants, and you'll be doing this research with faculty members. So it's a great way to have that mentorship with faculty. We also have a mathematics resource center, which is exactly what it sounds like. For those math classes, you can drop in and get some extra math help from your peers. We have Center for Writing. So if you're writing a paper and want someone to review that, you can head into there. And then we have tutoring for basically every single department. All of these resources that you see are free and are encouraged for all students to utilize. Now, going more to the outcome side of things, 93% of our students are employed or in graduate school within 8 months of graduation. We have around 1,200 job and internships available daily on the St. Thomas online listing. So this is how many of our students find their internships and jobs. I know when I was searching for jobs as a student, I was constantly updating this webpage just to see what's out there. And then, you know, they know that you're from St. Thomas when you're applying, so you already have a foot in the door. We have 115,000 living alums representing in 50 states and 77 countries. We also have an alumni mentorship program. So as a student, you can be paired up with an alumni who has a career in a similar interest as you. So really you get to do what you want with this mentorship. You can meet for coffee, they can help you network, answer any questions that you have, review your resume, things like that. But a lot of our students love to be a part of that program. 90% of top public companies in Minnesota actively recruit St. Thomas students. So just like all these other colleges, being in the Twin Cities definitely has its perks because we have so many larger corporations all around us that are looking to recruit from these Twin City schools, such as Target, 3M, General Mills, Land O'Lakes, places like that. And then 42% of our grads make $50,000 or more in their first year after graduation. So that's kind of a brief overview of all of our outcomes, but if you're interested, we encourage you to tour, or you can head to our website to ask any additional questions or come and take a visit.
Thanks, Morgan. So folks on the call, if you have questions, you're welcome to use that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, or the chat can work as well, and we'll look for those. But a couple of questions that are coming to mind for me. One is, I'm curious about, and I guess I'll call on people by name. Let's see, Candace, can you help me with this question? I was thinking about how folks may be interested in careers or opportunities in other markets. And you mentioned how you had an internship, I believe, in Germany when you were a student. I guess I'm curious how colleges help support students who know they might want to be living or exploring career options in other parts of the country or the world. Is that kind of something that MCAD takes on sometimes with students?
Absolutely. So we love connecting students with like alumni. So being able to have them come in to the school, do chats with our students, do virtual visits, virtual studio visits, and have conversations with their students about their personal work. Super helpful. Great way to get them connected with folks that might be in the location that they're interested in going to. And then, of course, like I said, I did my internship abroad, but we encourage students that if they have an interest in doing an internship anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, we can totally help support that. It's just going to be something that they do during the summer rather than during the school year, like a lot of our other internships.
Great, thank you. Is that kind of a typical way to think about internships that are in other markets, to think of them as a summer opportunity? Some of you might have does anyone have other times of the year where they might encourage that or think of opportunities for that? Morgan?
A lot of students at St. Thomas will get internships when they're abroad for the semester. So beyond just taking classes, when they're abroad, they also will get a part-time internship as well. So that's really popular for us, and around 50% of our students do study abroad. So yeah.
Great. So that was on my mind, but I guess clearly you four are all at institutions that are in the Twin Cities, which has the benefit of a really rich array of things in the backyard of your institutions where people can have internships. So just just would someone, maybe Michael, could you walk through this a little bit? If I'm a high school student and I'm not really thinking about how an internship fits in with a student's academic experience, how could that work during a semester? I'm doing an internship and taking some classes. Can you kind of just paint the picture of how that fits together?
Yeah, so depending on what program you choose, it could take a variety of different, or look a variety of different ways, but we actually can provide credit for interns, so internships. And so what you would do is you'd work with your advisor and work that into your 4-year plan and say, all right, I'm looking at doing this and I'd like to do this type of thing. Some of our degrees or majors actually have it as part of their requirement or as a part of the requirement mapped out, and some it's more optional. And then once you get a hold of that and weave that into your 4-year plan, yeah, you can take it for credit. In fact, we even have students who approach our office to say, hey, could I do an internship even at Bethel? We look to try and get them outside, but yeah, we map it right into their degree programming.
Great. I'm curious, Elion, if you could reflect for me a little bit about how, especially for maybe a high school student or the parent of a high school student, the idea of being in high school, not even yet in college, and imagining networking. So I think part of this conversation starts to sound really scary, and I'm wondering if you could think of some ways that colleges make it a little more approachable and help students move from high school students and who are, going to feel their youth in some situations to folks who are going to feel comfortable interacting with people in different professions and having those early coffee conversations and those kinds of things. How do you talk about that? How the college supports people in that way?
Sure, and maybe speaking specifically to the Macalester context, but
yeah, that'd be great.
More than that too is, I think we really try to engage alumni in the Macalester experience at different stages, whether they come to speak during classroom experiences or they're coming to events for students. I think there's a general spirit that I could see happening at all of our institutions too, that we wanting to be a part of the community that we're a member of and having really strong alumni networks attached to that, I think can be really exciting, and knowing that I'm part of this greater community. So I think the onus is on the college to create that atmosphere too, of being part of a larger thing. We do a number of, which I lightly touched on, different events where we actually take students to businesses, to offices, and have them go into the alums space and have those connections. And I think we intentionally have alumni that are very interested in connecting with students, as I think most of our alumni are. And I think if you have alumni engaging with your college, they typically are interested in passing on their experience and helping future graduates of the college. So it's an investment for us, because I think the colleges long-term wants students and graduates to continue to engage once they graduate from our colleges, right? That's important to them. Advancement might say that there's some donations involved in there, but I think it's more just the broader community and hearing just about the different resources that alum can have with career explorations even past their graduation. So I think we do our best to introduce alumni through the classroom experience, through visiting sites. Our career explorations has mock interviews where we engage alumni as well, the informational coffee piece of it. Alumni that are part of those initiatives tend to be really engaging and kind and nice, I think, and really excited to connect with students. So do not be afraid of that engagement.
Thank you. I guess I'm curious about myths that might come up about the liberal arts and grads from liberal arts institutions or folks who've majored in liberal arts. Is that, some folks who are thinking about colleges may be worried about going to a liberal arts school or thinking about liberal arts majors. Would one of you like to address that issue and how, when we think about our outcomes, that the liberal arts is a good foundation to start from when you're looking at careers?
I can go again.
All
I
right,
can
we'll
agree,
go for you.
but
Thank
I
you.
would just say, you know, and I think everybody knows this, is there are jobs out there that haven't been created yet, jobs that are continuing to be formed. And as someone who went to MCAD, and I am the recruitment director, you know, I think that the skills that I learned at MCAD, I can apply to any of the work that I do. It's about creative problem solving. It's about being able to go and find solutions for issues. And I think that by having interdisciplinary study is what really empowers our students to be successful in a variety of different industries. I mean, you need to know how to write wherever you go. You're writing a grant, you're writing in grad school, or getting your MBA. I mean, like, there are so many common threads and skills that you gain through liberal arts experience that it can apply to any work that's out there.
Great, thank you. You know, I think some folks might think that bigger is better when it comes to alumni networks. Michael, could you reflect on, you know, should I be thinking about going to the largest institution I can imagine because I'm going to have a bigger network, more access to more folks? Is that a logic that holds, do you think?
I don't necessarily. I think, you know, networking is a lot about relationships and the depth of those relationships. And while you need some volume in order to have some connections, a lot of it boils down to the relationship that you can develop. And I think us as Minnesota private colleges, we're uniquely suited to have more in-depth or develop more in-depth relationships, have deeper connections, just because volume can play against you actually in that realm. By making it too large, it's hard to actually accomplish that. So I don't think it's a volume play. I think you know, there's a sweet spot, but a lot of it boils down to relationships and connections, and we tend to do that really well.
Great. Morgan and Candace, you're both, you know, anchored in the admission role, and I guess I'm curious if you both could reflect on when it comes to families and students thinking about college selection, how do you think that they should best include this topic of outcomes and careers in a college choice? How do you balance that in the mix of all the other factors, and what's a good thing for them to be looking at, you know, given all the different options that are out there? Do you have any thoughts on that, Morgan, when you deal with a family?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a tricky one for me because when I was searching for colleges, I thought for sure I was going to be a science major and I wanted to go to med school. And then I didn't necessarily choose St. Thomas because of that. I just chose it because it felt right to me. And luckily I didn't choose it because of that, because then I changed to a communications and business major, which is, you know, a complete 180. So I'd say if you are 100% set on what you want to do, definitely take the time to do your research for that college. If you can, schedule a visit to meet with professors and see a little bit more of the department in depth that you're interested in, and you know what those outcomes are for that specific department. But on the other hand, if you are kind of wishy-washy and don't really know, feel no shame for that. And just go into, you know, looking at colleges and look at it very much holistically, and just kind of see if the college as a whole feels right to you versus the departments.
Great, thanks. Candace, what thoughts would you have for that family trying to weigh that factor?
I mean, I try to be real with people. This is an experience that I went through because I also went to MCAD. What I looked at was what the size of the school was. I wanted to be able to know people, know who to communicate with if I had trouble. That was something that I really valued and saw with the admissions counselor that I worked with. And then I like to be able to speak about my own outcomes. So kids love to ask me, you know, how much money do you make? Stuff like that. And I don't mind answering that. That's fine with me. Just saying and being honest with the fact that I think that a lot of the arts is really self-propelled. So being able to advocate for yourself as an artist and what you can do and what you're going to do, having a plan about what you would like to do with your degree and having a conversation with your professors and saying, how do I get there with the tools that you've given me? And being able to use what you've learned to learn new skills after college. I think that that's something that's really important to the experience. So just being real with people about how it can be a challenge, and it can be a lot about challenging yourself as a person when you're working in the arts, but it's definitely something that's really rewarding if it's something you're passionate about.
Thank you. Michael, you'd raised this point in your comments initially about thinking more broadly about outcomes. And I think, you know, we all start with kind of maybe somewhat a media-driven focus on outcomes being about career, and that's solid. I mean, it's important to talk about. But you broadened it to think about character and who do you want your grandkids to say you were? Can you speak a little bit more about that? Because that's such an engaging, important question.
Yeah, happily. I think Morgan even addressed it. So much of what we head into college, after we learn and dig into ourselves and grow, has the potential of changing. And so, you know, it's very easy for us. I started out a CS major. I was involved in a tech startup, and I wanted to get involved in technology, and ended up switching to elementary education and secondary education. So I'm a teacher by trade, and now I'm in marketing. And so I never imagined that path that I would take in life. And I think part of thinking about outcomes is thinking about, am I prepared broadly? So that ties into liberal arts and being able to do multiple things, because I would imagine a lot of us are going to have multiple different opportunities throughout our career to take different paths. It has to do with like focusing on character or values and a place that you feel like is going to help you grow in that area. And I think us as private colleges are uniquely suited to that. We do a really good job at articulating our values and uniqueness as a whole. And so I would just encourage you, as you look at that, to take into account those things, because so much of life changes and so much of who we become is altered along the way, that setting yourself up for some of those longer term goals and outcomes is just as important as focusing on, will I have a good career? Am I in the job that I want to? And how much money do I make?
Thank you. Elian, I was just thinking about, I get to work with John Mountain on your career development side, and I was just thinking about meeting him in his office. And but I was remembering that for folks who are doing the college search, they are not familiar with career development offices and the good people like John Mountain who work there. So I guess, could you just paint the picture for what a career development office is, how that works as a resource for students?
Yeah, thankfully it's evolved from when I was in college, and it was just like, here's a book you go through and look for opportunities. Now, then it went to just these massive databases, and now I think career development offices have had to become really savvy with how they're guiding students through that process. And so I know that Macalester uses Handshake as their content management, and I think that's a pretty popular one. But one of the shifts that they have made is really articulating steps through the process. That idea of exploration happening as early as the first year in college. What do you want to study? What are you interested in? To having this workshops on how to do an interview, how to make a resume. You know, I could imagine, you know, for Candace, creating a portfolio for a professional to be a professional outward facing. So they have to start that work much earlier than they used to. I think in order for colleges to be competitive, to continue to have high graduation rates and to have these really wonderful outcome numbers that we're able to share, that work. But what happens is, institutions look and they see, well, we need to start this earlier in order to have these great outcomes. And so they have, thankfully, and it's really benefiting the students. A step we took that I thought was really helpful was we actually, and John is part of this, have very discipline specific career explorations staff members. So we have one that works specifically with students in the sciences, one who would work with students in the social sciences, because they become experts in that field, versus having someone that needs to know absolutely everything that needs to happen. So I think that to the benefit of the students that are in college right now, I mean, career exploration is so much easier, and there's so much more equity than there used to be in having resources to find jobs. Thank you, technology, which is also a great industry to be in. So I don't know if that's helpful. I mean, I think that and also just having, being in the Twin Cities for all of our colleges, that we have such easy access to industries to come on campus and recruit our students on campus is huge. It's massive. That gets back to that networking piece. Once you shake someone's hand in a more typical world, and get to know them, that can make a really big difference for people who are hiring, or even for graduate programs. So yeah, I think they've changed a lot for the better, especially in the last 5 years. And John's,
I think, and you're totally right. That funny evolution that you painted is just correct, I think. You just mentioned grad programs, and Morgan, I know you talked about that in your presentation some too, about undergrad research, and I just wonder if you could expand on that a little bit, because so many of our students at each of these institutions they choose to go on to grad school, but they've had interesting opportunities, as you referenced, for undergrad research. Can you just paint a picture a little bit about how that undergrad research opportunity can get nurtured? I mean, does a student just fall into that? How do students get connected with those opportunities?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of it is through the faculty members, so their professors. Maybe a student has a really good connection with the professor, and this certain aspect of their class really intrigued them. They will say in their class, whether it's science or another related class, that they're looking for students to do research for that, and when they are. And also when they meet with their academic advisors know all the research opportunities and can direct students to professors who are doing research about that in a time soon. So kind of all over the place, but a lot of the times in the classroom, and then also in those academic appointments as well.
Great. Thank you. Well, this has been a great conversation. We're getting close to 5. So I think it's a fine time to stop and give people a few extra minutes from this hour. I want to thank all 4 of you for joining us and sharing your perspectives and views from based in admission, but thinking about outcomes. And I think it'll be hugely helpful for the folks on the call, but also others whom we share it with. And Tom, do you have anything you want to update people on?
Yeah, I'll be following up with attendees with a recording of this, some contact information for all of the fine panelists we have here. So if you've got questions or you want to reach out to do a little virtual visit, and a survey and some resources from the council so that you can get connected with other Minnesota private colleges. And thanks for attending.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Goodbye.